welcome here to TalkFCB, and welcome back to the channel here today, guys, where we find ourselves right now at the very beating heart of the transfer window. We're into the final days, the clock is ticking down, and these are very, very busy times for the club, because today we're going to be discussing the possibility of not only one more arrival, not only one big transfer still to happen this summer, but the possibility of two. We are going to be discussing that along with multiple exit operations that are on the table. There's offers coming in, there's bids happening right now, and we're going to be discussing all of it here. So come on, and let's do this. But if we first of all kick off in majestic style, because let's talk about Joao Cancelo, because as we discussed earlier on today, in jubilant mood, here we go. This is a deal now that is finally going to happen, and I am so happy, absolutely delighted here to get this one now pretty much wrapped up and over the line. Joao Cancelo will be travelling apparently later on today to Barcelona there. He will arrive finally in the city. Documents are being exchanged right now between Barça and Man City, and it's all looking good at last. We are going to get this deal done, and I think actually, given what we saw on Sunday against Villarreal, I'm not going to go into all of that again about our fullbacks, but what we saw out there, I think that makes this deal even more important. That makes it even more of a priority here, that we bring somebody in who can adapt on both sides, who can play very, very well on both sides, and just having the mere presence of Cancelo, that added security for Xavi, the options that can give him, we've spoken about it a lot in the build-up to this deal, that is what we need right now, and that will give our squad a huge, huge boost right now at the start of this new season. Now, what is interesting right now, guys, about this deal is that there are contrasting reports on the buy option, though. Obviously, right now we signed a loan deal with Cancelo, no loan fee, that's really, really good. It's looking like a very promising deal, but there are a few contrasting reports on what exactly the structure of the deal is for the long term, because apparently Barca there have been very, very careful not to include anything concrete when it comes to buying Cancelo, just so that it doesn't count towards FFP. If you write something into the deal, if you say, okay, we are going to buy him, it's going to happen at the end of it, suddenly then that starts counting already towards FFP. But that is usually only something that happens with obligations to buy. So we're going to have to wait and see right now on what terms we've signed Cancelo on what that buy option does include, the amount and all the rest that goes with it. But I just think right now, this is an important deal on the field. It's a deal that gives us options. It's a deal that gives us depth and quality depth. That is what we're striving for. And he is a top player. When you get him playing, when you get him in the right zones there, as I hope Xavi will do, and that's what I think Xavi has aspirations of doing. He's been pushing hard for Cancelo. He wants him in his team. He understands where he can fit in his plans, and I'm really excited to see what we can do, and I hope we can get the best out of him, because if we can, what a player we could have on our hands. However, speaking of the transfer market, speaking indeed about fullbacks, there's lots more going on right now in the market. There is plenty happening from a Barca point of view. Now let's talk right now about Marcos Alonso, because there is genuine interest in him right now, and genuine interest from Manchester United, who apparently right now are looking for a cheap left-back option. There's been lots of rumours today they've actually made a bid now, a concrete proposal to Barca and to Alonso. Now it's said in the media right now that Deco within the club, he is the man pushing for Alonso to leave. Deco does not really see a future with Alonso in it. He doesn't feel as though he should be part of the long-term thinking at the club. And also, given the fact that Alonso's salary, not exactly small, it's actually a pretty significant deal, Deco would rather the club be listening to offers for him right now. But the problem at this stage for Deco, and indeed for the club, is that Alonso doesn't really want to leave. That's the feeling right now. He has 1 year left on his contract. He's now, of course, been registered in La Liga. He's playing as well as he did yesterday. And I think right now it's all really coming down to Xavi and his preference. Because actually, I think if Xavi told him, you know what, you're not in my plan, I'm not really going to be playing you this season, I'd rather you leave the club, then suddenly I think Alonso will be a lot more open to leaving. But right now, there's no real suggestion that is going to happen. Xavi feels that Alonso can provide cover, can provide depth, and at left back, we are not blessed, of course, with options. And that is why at this point, Alonso's departure, it remains in the balance. But that is not all either, especially on the defensive side of things, because now we're starting to hear as well rumours about Eric Garcia, because apparently right now, for the first time this summer, he might actually be open to leaving. There are suggestions right now that Eric Garcia is quite unhappy with the playing time that he's getting so far this season, and he has now decided, maybe I need to leave the club. Maybe actually to continue my career, to continue developing as I want to as a player, it might need to be outside of Barca. Now in Spain, which apparently would be Garcia's ideal destination, he'd like to remain in La Liga if he can, and Girona, they've shown real interest in him. Over the past week or so, they've stepped up that interest. Apparently Eric Garcia has even spoken with a few Girona players, sort of get a feel for the club and to understand what it would be like. But the only thing right now on this one is that Girona apparently wouldn't be in a position to do a permanent deal. They wouldn't be able to afford there to buy Eric Garcia outright, so it would only probably be a loan deal there, getting Eric Garcia's wages, which again are not small off the wage bill. That would be something that could happen. And I do have to say, guys, it is a real shame in my opinion that we couldn't orchestrate here some sort of swap deal or a swap plus cash deal for Arnau Martinez. You know, you can have Eric Garcia, but how about that right back of yours? How about adding another fullback to this team? I'd love to do it. I really would, guys. Get as many fullbacks as you can in. Ramp up that cover. Ramp up that depth. We do not want to leave ourselves light. We're very much aware of that right now. But on Eric, again, things are up in the air. And there is also plenty of speculation too surrounding, not a defender in this case, but a forward in Abde. Because we've actually heard a lot throughout this summer. Is he going to stay? Is he going to go? And the one thing that's always remained consistent about Abde is that he's always been very concerned about his development. You know, he wants to be playing this season. He doesn't want to just spend a season on the bench at Barcelona just to say, oh, well, I played at Barcelona. Look at me. I'm a Barcelona player. No, he wants to be playing like he was last season, developing and looking very, very promising. And this season so far, 45 minutes he got in the first game against Getafe, then less in the second game, 23 minutes against Cadiz, and then most recently against Villarreal on Sunday, no minutes for Abde. And the media say right now he was quite hurt by that there. He didn't really feel very good after not playing at all. He's starting to have more concerns now about the season ahead and about his future. And there have been quite a few meetings here between Abde's agent and the club about what could happen in these final days. Because from Xavi and Deco's point of view, they very much agree. They'd like Abde to continue. They like his potential. They like his qualities. You know, Xavi could use Abde in different situations. He's a good player to have in your armoury. But it's all going to depend on the player at this stage, because if he starts pushing to leave, if he really makes it known, look, I'm not happy here, I do want to leave for the good of my career, then suddenly the offers coming in, they're going to have a bit more weight. We're hearing a lot about interest from Bayer Leverkusen. They're apparently only willing to offer around 20 million or so for Abde. And I'm just wondering, guys, if Abde does make it clear here that he wants to leave, he doesn't want to continue this season at Barca, what would you do? Would you try and convince him there, maybe a loan deal, only just loan him out in a similar sort of deal to what we did last season, sent him off to Osasuna, where he did very, very well, but with Abde, accept another loan? Is that the way that he wants to go right now? Does he see his long-term future here? Or would you be open to selling him there? What kind of amount would you be open to selling Abde for if he made it clear that he didn't want to continue at Barca? And you do think about all these exit guys, you think about the fact right now that Barca apparently are still planning, still looking at players who may indeed be able to come in, because then we start to think about another signing, maybe even in those forward areas, because Joan Laporta gave an interesting interview before yesterday's game against Villarreal. He was actually asked then, what about Joao Felix? You know, are we going to see him become a Barcelona player? Is that a deal that can happen? And all Laporta replied, you'd have to go and ask Deco about that. That's not my area. You're going to have to talk about Deco on specifics. But what Laporta did say is that we have the salary margin for last-minute operations in the window. And he said there, more than one. He said, we are working on it right now. And I thought that was really interesting there, that Laporta would voluntarily give out that information there. Not only just to say, okay, we're working on things, we'll see what happens, we've got a few players lined up, we don't know exactly what we can do, but Laporta has openly come out and said, look, we're working on more than one. More than one deal can happen, and that would imply to me that we are going to see moves in these final days, because Xavi then was asked about those words from Laporta after the Villarreal game. He was also asked there about the potential arrivals of not only a right-back, but also maybe of a forward. He said what the president says is true, and if he says that, he will do it. We know that. He said, we will try to bring in these two players, and I hope that we can do it. And it was interesting there that Xavi said these two players. Now, did he mean a right-back and a forward? Was he admitting there that those are the two positions that are being targeted, or was that only implied? Did he not really specify that it would be a forward on the way? So that remains open right now. Some suggestions in the media today say it could be a midfielder, not a forward in the final days. But I just think right now, Joao Felix is somebody who's always been on the agenda. He's always been an option, and he's basically been left there. We know that he's waiting for Barca. We know that it would be his dream to come here, and I think Barca are using that again to their advantage. They're waiting here until the very final days of the window. The clock is ticking down. Atleti, ideally, would like to move him on. They may need to do that if they want to bring in players themselves. And Barca, they want that straight loan option. They don't want to pay a loan fee. They don't want to have any buy obligation or anything like that in the deal. They want a straight loan deal for Felix. Will they get what they want? And is this going to go right down to the wire in this transfer window? So that there, guys, is the very latest update right now on what Barca are doing, what Barca are plotting in these final days. And what I want to know in the comments down below, guys, what would you like to see us do at the end of this transfer window here, both in terms of arrivals? Who would you like to see arrive at the club along with Joao Cancelo, if anybody, in these final days? And also on exits, who would you be happy to leave the club? Who would you like to see departing? Do let me know all of that down below. I think it's going to be a busy few days. I don't think we're going to be bored here on the channel, and I do hope to see you guys back here very, very soon, where the updates will be continuing. Thank you indeed for all of your support. Great day today to wrap up Cancelo, and I will see you all very, very soon. But until next time, as always, Visca, El Barça.